We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes one of my weaknesses, not all the time, but sometimes, is poor planning. Why do I say this? Well, a couple Sundays ago, I celebrated this very Mass, and I preached very specifically on supporting the capital campaign and being generous with what we have. And this was without knowing that a couple weeks later, today, I was celebrating this very same Mass and have to preach on something very similar, which is supporting the Catholic Services Appeal, the CSA. So like I said, we're planning, but oh well. So as to not just talk about the CSA due to my poor planning, my hope is to do three things. So the first is, I do want to talk a little bit about our gospel today. It's the first thing I want to do. The second thing is, I want to talk to you about the CSA because Bishop has asked me to do so and asked all the priests of the diocese. And then the third thing and last thing I want to do is explain to you how you can support the CSA and give you an opportunity to do so here in Mass if you would like to support it. So let's start with the first thing, talking about the gospel. The gospel summarizes for us, Jesus summarizes for us, the basics of Christianity. Love God above all things, right? Love the Lord with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind. And then the second thing, to love our neighbor as ourselves. We know this, right? These are the basics of our Christian faith. But we can always deepen our understanding of these two commandments and what it is that they demand of us. Because they demand something of us. When St. John Paul II visited the United States in 1979, he celebrated a Mass in Boston, and he said the following in his homily at that time. He said, "Real love is demanding. I would fail in my mission if I did not clearly tell you so. Love demands effort and a personal commitment to the will of God. It means discipline and sacrifice, but it also means joy and human fulfillment. Real love is demanding. It requires effort and sacrifice." Just about a week ago, I was talking to this young man who is preparing himself to get married in the church. And I always like to ask, new couples that I'm working with, they're going to get married, different questions to help them ponder more deeply what it is that they're seeking, what it is that marriage is, what it is that love is, etc. And he said to me something that I found very insightful. He was reflecting upon himself, and he was telling me, Father, I'm a romantic. And in my previous relationships, this has actually become an issue for me because maybe I've had the wrong idea of what love is. And after hitting a couple walls, I think I've learned that love is actually more like a skill. Like any skill, right, is something you can acquire. You can work at it and you can master that particular skill. Like any skill, if you don't work at that skill, you lose it. You become bad at it. But again, if you train and you develop it, you get better at it. And it's the same with love. You can develop your ability to love by working at it. Or if you don't put effort into it, sacrifice into it, then you start losing your ability to love. This is what this young man said to me, and I was like, whoa, all right, this is great. I found what he said to be so true. Love, right, it's not just a feeling, but it's a sort of skill, an ability that we have to develop, and it takes work. As JP2 said, real love is demanding. And we as Christians are meant to be great lovers. That's what we ought to be known for. Being great lovers because, of course, we are followers of the greatest of lovers, Jesus Christ. Focusing maybe specifically on the love of our neighbor, right? The love of those around us. One of the ways in which we can grow in our ability to love, one of the ways in which we can grow in this skill of loving is by deepening our awareness of the mystery of what it means to be a human person. Let me say that again. One of the ways in which we can grow in our ability to love and this skill of loving is by deepening our awareness of the mystery of what it means to be a human person. What do I mean by this? Every human person has an immense dignity. Every human person is a great mystery. You are a great mystery. A mystery even unto yourself, made in the image and likeness of the eternal triune God. A mystery to be contemplated, to behold. Something that happens is that as we interact with others, as we interact with ourselves, we get used to this mystery of what it means to be a person. And so we begin to treat each other in ways that are not befitting, right, of being a person, in ways that are not appropriate. Often we fail to love others because we fail to see, right, that the depths of their dignity, because we fail to see that they are a person, that they're made in the image and likeness of the eternal triune God. And so again, it makes sense that one of the ways in which we can grow in this skill of loving is by deepening this awareness of the mystery of what it means to be a human person. Because if we are able to see reality as it is, if we're able to see a person as they truly are, a person with a story, a person with wounds, with strengths, with weaknesses, made in the image and likeness of God, then it's much easier to treat them as we should, with love. C.S. Lewis once said in one of his sermons, he said, "It is a serious thing to remember that the dullest and most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship." He's talking about our eternal destiny in heaven, the glory we'll experience there if we're followers of the Lord. So he's reflecting about, yes, you can be interacting with this quote-unquote dull, uninteresting person. But this person is destined for an eternity of glory in heaven. And if we were able to see that, the glory for which they're destined, we would be tempted to worship this very person in front of us. And he continues, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. Next to the Blessed Sacrament itself, your neighbor is the holiest object presented to your senses. And if he is a Christian, he is holy in almost the same way, for in him also Christ is truly hidden." Ain't that beautiful and something to ponder, right? We know that the presence of Christ in the Eucharist is the greatest presence we have of him on earth, because it's literal his presence, true body, blood, soul, and divinity, right? Hidden in the appearances of bread and wine, but truly him. And C.S. Lewis is drawing this parallel and saying, next to this is the presence of the Lord in those around us, right? Because of the dignity of being made in the image and likeness of God. And if they're Christian, if they're baptized, that presence is even deeper. Yeah, not the same as the Blessed Sacrament, but with it is due a certain reverence and awe. Is this how you see people, the people you interact with on your daily basis? Is this how you see and contemplate yourself, your spouse, your co-workers? Maybe you have the literal neighbors on your street that perhaps annoy you. Person begging on the street. What would happen if we would start to see this, right? What would happen to us personally, and what would happen in the world? I think what's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip, right? The mystery of the human person completely lost. But again, this awareness, holding this awareness, demands effort. It's a skill, right? To see the truth of the human person demands effort, demands work, demands sacrifice. But the better we become in this, at seeing the truth of the human person, the more we will be able to love. Changing gears a little bit, I want to talk to you, like I said, the second thing I wanted to do right now is to talk to you a little bit about the CSA. So just a reminder for those of you that perhaps forget what this is, or maybe you've never heard what this is. The CSA, the Catholic Services Appeal, is an appeal that the Bishop of the Diocese of Austin does every year around this time, Bishop Joe, asking for support for several diocesan endeavors. There's endeavors that go outside of parishes that are diocesan-wide. And the only way to support these endeavors is to the CSA, the Catholic Services Appeal. I'll just give you two examples of those endeavors. The first is the formation of priests. It costs about $55,000 a year to pay for a seminarian for 1 year. It's a lot of money, and we have 40 seminarians. And so every year we have to spend as a diocese over $2 million just with the formation of our future priests. I think it's a beautiful thing to support if you want to invest in your future priests. And actually, I want to take this opportunity too. You know, if you were supporting the CSA between the year 2014 and 2021, right, you were supporting my formation to become a priest. And I'm personally very grateful. I'm grateful to you for having helped me be able to focus in my studies and to be formed to be a priest, to come then back here and serve you. And hopefully, I don't know if you feel like this, but hopefully you feel like you're getting some sort of return on your investment, okay? But no. I didn't mean to elicit that. It was just a joke, okay? But if you want to continue to support, like you think about Seminarian Isaiah, who we have here with us serving this year. You think about Seminarian Michael, who was here for a year. He's right now back studying, right? You think about Seminarian Ryan Both or Will Stivers, who's part of our parish, right? If you want to support them, right, in their studies, this is how to do it. You're supporting the CSA. Another initiative of the CSA is Catholic Charities. They provide great services for people with needs, right? They provide legal services for those who need that and they can't afford a lawyer, or counseling services for those who are having trouble in their marriage and they can't afford a counselor, or just personal issues, etc. So there's more things that the CSA does, but these are just some examples. So it's a really good thing to support if you are able. So the second thing I wanted to share with you what the CSA is, and then how to support if you would like to support. So in your pews, there's some sort of envelopes, and so it's an actual envelope. So if you want to support with cash, you can just put cash in there and close the envelope. If you want to kind of do credit card stuff, you can fill out there your information and do it that way, or if you want to do check, you can put a check in there. There's also a QR code if you want to do it later on, right? You can just do it online via the QR code. More information too on what you will be supporting is also in the very same envelope. In case you want to fill this out right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here in my chair and give a couple minutes. If you don't want to fill it out right now, you just invite you to be in silence and pray, right? Use the time to pray. If you want to fill it out, you can do that. And then we'll collect it with the regular collection. So when the basket passes for the regular collection, you can put your regular collection and also put your envelope there if you would like to support the CSA.